The rain had just started when Marcus Hill stepped out his car, the asphalt of the distribution hub shimmering under the sodium lights. Diesel hummed in the distance. Forklifts beeped. The night shift was changing over, men and women in reflective vests laughing, yawning, moving with practiced rhythm. Marcus adjusted the cuff of his navy jacket and headed toward the glass doors. "Hey, delivery goes around back." The voice cut sharp through the noise. Marcus stopped. A patrol car idled at the curb, lights dark but present like a threat that didn't need to announce itself. The officer leaned against the door, arms folded, eyes already done with him. White, mid-40s, the kind of calm that came from certainty. "I'm not delivering anything," Marcus said evenly. The officer smirked. "Badge says otherwise. You people always try the front." The words landed heavier than the rain. Marcus felt heat climb his neck. Not surprise, never surprise, but the familiar calculation. How much to swallow? How much to show? Behind him, a security guard froze. Inside the building, conversations dulled, curiosity turning into silence. "I own this facility," Marcus said. The officer laughed once, short and sharp. "Sure you do." The radio on the officer's shoulder crackled. Somewhere, a truck air brake hissed like a warning. Marcus reached into his coat, not fast, not slow, feeling every eye lock onto his hand. "Sir," the officer said, palm hovering near his holster, voice suddenly hard. "Don't make this difficult." Marcus paused, fingers brushing his phone. Inside the building, the automatic door slid open, and the officer finally looked at the name etched across the glass behind Marcus. Hill Logistics, founded by Marcus Hill. The rain kept falling. No one moved. Marcus Hill hated the smell of wet asphalt because it reminded him how often he arrived after everyone else had gone home. He parked near the front entrance, engine ticking as it cooled, and sat for a moment, watching the rain stripe the windshield. Inside the building, lights burned white and constant. Work never stopped here. It just rotated bodies. He stepped out, coat collar up, phone in hand. "Delivery goes around back." Marcus turned slowly. The officer leaned against his cruiser like the night belonged to him. No urgency, no introduction, just a fact, delivered as order. "I'm heading inside," Marcus said. The officer looked him over, shoes, jacket, face, and smiled thinly. "That's not how it works." A security guard near the door pretended to study his clipboard. "I said I'm going inside," Marcus repeated. "Then you didn't hear me." The officer pushed off the car. "Deliveries don't use the front. You people never read signs." Marcus felt a familiar tightening behind his ribs. He measured his breath, the way his father taught him. Slow, controlled. "I'm not a delivery driver." The officer chuckled. "Everybody's something else tonight." Rain tapped against metal. A truck rolled past the gate, tires hissing. "Sir," Marcus said, keeping his voice even, "what seems to be the problem?" The officer's eyes hardened at the word "sir." "The problem is you arguing instead of listening." Marcus glanced at the badge. "Officer Daniel Price." "Officer Price," Marcus said, "I'm here on business." Price stepped closer. "Not touching. Not yet. Funny, that jacket say business now." Behind the glass, two supervisors paused mid-conversation. One of them recognized Marcus. His mouth opened, then closed. Marcus noticed. "Am I being detained?" Marcus asked. Price laughed, loud enough for the guard to hear. "Relax. Nobody's arresting you." His hand hovered near his belt anyway. "Then I let go inside. After you show ID." "For what reason?" Price tilted his head. "You don't want this to go sideways." There it was, the soft threat wrapped in procedure. Marcus reached into his coat slowly, announcing the motion with his eyes before his hands moved. He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling my operations manager," Marcus said. Price stiffened, put the phone down. "I'm calling my employee." Price stepped closer. "Now." The guard shifted, uncomfortable. "Officer, he—" "Stay out of it." Price snapped. Marcus raised the phone, but didn't dial. "You're making a mistake." Price smiled again. You sure about that? The front door slid open with a hydraulic sigh. Marcus, a woman called. Linda Chun, his OO, stood framed in light, tablet tucked to her chest. She took in the scene. The cruiser, the distance, the way Price's hand rested too close to his weapon. Yes, Marcus said. She turned to the officer. Is there an issue? Price straightened, professional now. Ma'am, this individual refused to follow instructions. Linda blinked. This is Marcus Hill. Silence dropped hard. The owner, she added. Price's eyes flicked to the etched letters on the glass behind Marcus. Hill Logistics. His jaw tightened. Marcus watched the calculation cross Price's face. Not apology, not doubt, but something colder. Well, Price said slowly, maybe next time he should announce himself. Marcus lowered his phone. The rain kept falling, and Price didn't move out of the way. The incident report took Officer Daniel Price less than 5 minutes to write. Marcus learned that later, long after the rain had dried and the building had returned to its steady hum. His attorney slid a printed copy across the conference table. Subject appeared confused. Failed to comply with verbal direction. Situation resolved without incident. Angela Brooks read aloud, voice flat. That's it. Marcus stared at the paragraph. No slur, no threat, no mention of a hand hovering near a holster. He reduced me to a weather delay, Marcus said. Linda Chin sat beside him, arms crossed tight. It's deliberate. Angela nodded. These reports are designed to disappear. Marcus leaned back, eyes on the ceiling. The room smelled faintly of burnt coffee and toner. He built this company from nothing. Leased vans, borrowed docks, contracts everyone else passed on. He knew paperwork. He knew how reality could be folded until it fit a file. Did his supervisor contact you? Marcus asked. Lieutenant Harris called me this morning, Angela said. Very polite, very concerned. Asked if he wanted to move forward amicably. Linda snorted. That's code. Marcus closed his eyes. What did you tell him? That we were reviewing options. Outside the glass walls, employees moved to the floor with careful normalcy. Word had spread, even if details hadn't. People felt when something went wrong at the top. Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Marcus Hill. Mr. Hill, this is Lieutenant Harris with the department. The voice was calm, rehearsed. I just wanted to personally apologize if there was any misunderstanding last night. Misunderstanding, Marcus repeated. Yes, sir. Officer Price believed he was enforcing standard procedure. Calling me you people is standard? A pause. Just long enough. I can't speak to exact phrasing, Harris said, but I can assure you we take concerns seriously. Marcus looked at Angela. She gave a small shake of her head. I was publicly humiliated on my own property, Marcus said, and threatened. Threatened is a strong word, Harris replied gently. Linda leaned forward, voice sharp. So is armed. Another pause. We'll note your feedback, Harris said. And of course, you're welcome to file a formal complaint. Marcus laughed once, bitter. You already wrote the ending. I'm sorry you feel that way, Harris said. Good day, Mr. Hill. The line went dead. Silence filled the room. They didn't even ask what happened, Linda said. Angela gathered the papers. They rarely do. Marcus stood and walked to the window. Below, trucks queued with precision, logos clean, schedules tight. His people trusted him to keep the system moving. How many times have we swallowed this? Marcus asked quietly. Linda didn't answer right away. Too many. Angela joined them. If you file internally, it goes nowhere. If you go public, they circle the wagons. Either way, they'll start looking for leverage. Marcus turned. Leverage how? Inspections, permits, stops. Angela met his eyes. Pressure. Marcus nodded slowly. He'd felt it before, earlier in his career. A contract delayed. A loan reevaluated. Always after he stepped out of line. My father used to say silence was cheaper, Marcus said. But it compounds. Linda exhaled. The staff is watching. They saw you stand there. Marcus looked back down at the floor. at the security guard who wouldn't meet his eyes now, at supervisors pretending not to whisper. "I don't want them punished for this," Marcus said. "They might be anyway," Angela replied. His phone buzzed again. This time, a text from his facilities manager. "City inspector just arrived." No notice. Marcus closed his eyes. "That was fast," Linda said. Angela's jaw tightened. "Paper shields only work one way." Marcus straightened. "Then we document everything." Angela nodded. "Every visit, every stop, every word." Linda looked at Marcus. "Are you ready for what that brings?" He thought of Price's smile, of Harris's pauses, of how easily the report erased him. "I've been ready my whole life," Marcus said. Outside, a siren wailed briefly, then faded. Inside the system, something had already started moving. The city inspector arrived with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Marcus watched from a mezzanine as the man introduced himself to Linda, clipboard tucked neatly under one arm. He wore a windbreaker despite being indoors, zipped all the way up as if bracing for something unpleasant. "Routine visit," the inspector said, loud enough for nearby staff to hear. "Won't take long." Linda nodded. "Professional. We didn't receive notice." The inspector shrugged. "Happens." Marcus descended the stairs slowly. Every step echoed louder than it should have. "Marcus Hill," he said, extending a hand. The inspector hesitated before shaking it. "Evan Miller, City Compliance." "What are we looking at today?" Marcus asked. "Safety markings, dock spacing, fire exits." Miller flipped his clipboard open. Few anonymous complaints came in. Linda's jaw tightened. "Anonymous?" Miller smiled thinly. "We take all concerns seriously." They walked the floor together. Forklifts slowed. Conversations died. Employees kept their eyes forward, bodies tense. At dock 12, Miller stopped. "This clearance looks tight." "It meets code," Linda said immediately. "We passed inspection 6 months ago." Miller measured with exaggerated care. "Codes change." Marcus felt the weight settle in his chest. Not anger, recognition. By noon, Miller had flagged 3 minor issues. Nothing that shut them down, but enough to require follow-ups. Paper, time, cost. As Miller left, he turned back. "We'll be around more often," he said pleasantly. After he was gone, the floor exhaled. "They're not even pretending," Linda said. Marcus checked his phone. 3 missed calls. The first was from their regional fleet manager. "Marcus, we got a problem," the man said when Marcus called back. 2 of our trucks were pulled over on I-90. Full inspection. Both cleared, but they held the drivers for an hour. "For what reason?" "Equipment check. Driver attitude." A pause. One of the officers asked who owned the company. Marcus closed his eyes. "Did they say anything else?" "Just told them to tell their boss to be careful." By mid-afternoon, it was 4 trucks. By evening, 6. Angela Brooks arrived just after sunset, coat still on, eyes sharp. "I confirmed it," she said. "They're testing boundaries." Marcus poured her coffee. "Can they do that legally?" "They can do enough to hurt without breaking rules," Angela said. "That's the point." Linda leaned against the table. "Employees are scared." "I know," Marcus said. Angela met his gaze. "So are they." That night, Marcus drove home later than usual. His neighborhood was quiet, street lamps buzzing softly. As he pulled into his driveway, headlights flared behind him, red and blue. He sighed before stopping. The officer approached cautiously, flashlight slicing through the dark. "License and registration." Marcus handed them over. "Any reason you stopped me?" Marcus asked. The officer glanced at the documents. "You rolled through a stop sign." Marcus looked back down the street. The sign stood untouched, unmistakable. "I stopped fully," Marcus said. The officer's mouth twitched. "That's not what I saw." Marcus waited. The officer returned the documents a minute later. "Be careful out there." He didn't say sir. Inside his house, Marcus stood in the dark longer than necessary. He felt smaller there, alone with the echo of engines and radios. The next morning, a permit renewal was delayed. The next day, a zoning question surfaced that had never been an issue before. Patterns formed quickly when you knew how to look. At the distribution hub, Marcus gathered his senior team. "I won't lie to you," he said. "We're under pressure." A hand rose. "Is this because of the police thing?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. Then, "Yes." Silence rippled through the room. "So what do we do?" someone asked. Marcus thought his father, standing in a borrowed suit at a bank that wouldn't loan to him, of his mother reminding him to keep receipts for insults no one else would count. "We keep records," Marcus said. "We stay clean. And we don't disappear." After the meeting, the security guard from that night lingered near the door. "Mr. Hill?" the man said quietly. Marcus turned. "Yes." I saw more than I said," the guard murmured. "That night." Marcus studied him. "Fear, guilt, something else, resolve." "Then say it," Marcus said gently. The guard swallowed. "I think they don't expect us to." Marcus nodded slowly. Outside, another cruiser rolled past the gate, slow and deliberate. The retaliation was quiet, but it was no longer invisible. The security guard's name was Eli Turner, and he kept looking over his shoulder like the walls might start listening. Marcus closed his office door and gestured for him to sit. "Take your time." Eli didn't. "I wasn't supposed to say anything," he said quickly. "They told us not to get involved with police matters." "Who told you?" Marcus asked. "Supervisors. City liaison. Everybody." Eli's hands twisted together. "But I can't stop thinking about it." Linda slipped in quietly and took a seat, tablet off. Eyes locked on Eli. "What did you see?" Marcus asked. Eli swallowed. "Our cameras don't record audio in public areas, but the entry cam does. It's private property." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. "You're sure?" "Yes, and I checked." Eli hesitated. "I also checked the timestamps." The officer didn't know. Linda leaned forward. "What's on it?" Eli reached into his pocket and pulled out a flash drive like it weighed more than it should. "Everything." They watched it together on Marcus's screen. The footage was grainy but unmistakable. Marcus saw himself approach the door, heard the rain, then Price's voice, clearer than memory, sharper. "Delivery goes around back." Marcus closed his eyes as the line replayed. "You people always try the front." Linda inhaled sharply. The moment Price's hand drifted toward his holster froze the room. Angela Brooks arrived 10 minutes later. She didn't speak until the video ended. "This changes everything," she said quietly. Marcus rubbed his face. "Or it makes it worse." Angela met his eyes. "Both can be true." Eli shifted. "I can get fired for this." Marcus turned to him. "You won't be alone." Eli nodded, relief and fear tangling on his face. Angela unplugged the drive. "We need to secure copies. Multiple locations. Chain of custody." Linda asked, "Do we go to the department first?" Angela shook her head. "They'll bury it or claim context." Marcus stared at the paused image on the screen. Price mid-smile, mid-assumption. "What happens if we release it?" Marcus asked. Angela didn't soften her answer. "They'll attack your credibility, your business, your past. They'll say you're exploiting race for profit." Linda cursed under her breath. "Of course they will." Marcus thought of his drivers being pulled over, of permits delayed, of the officer in his driveway. "And if we don't?" Marcus asked. "Then this continues," Angela said, quietly, indefinitely. The weight of it pressed down on his chest. "Give me a night," Marcus said. Angela nodded. "But not many." That evening, Marcus walked the floor alone. The building sounded different when you were the last one inside. Too big, too hollow. He stopped near the entry doors, the place where it happened. He imagined if Eli hadn't checked the cameras, if no one had spoken. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Careful which fires you light." Marcus stared at it, jaw tightening. At home, he sat at his kitchen table, lights off, laptop open. He watched the video again. And again, he heard the words the way his employees would, the way his son would. Someday, Linda called near midnight. Media's sniffing around. Someone leaked that you're pushing back. Marcus closed his eyes. Are you ready? Yes, she said. Are you? He thought of Eli, of fear becoming courage, of silence compounding interest. Yes, Marcus said. The next morning, Angela sent a file to 3 places at once: a civil rights reporter, an independent oversight group, and a cloud server overseas. By noon, the call started. By 2, the department released a statement calling the video selectively edited. By 4, the footage aired on every local channel. Price's voice echoed through the city. You people always try the front. Marcus stood in his office as phones rang and screens lit up. He felt exposed, relieved, terrified. Outside, protesters gathered at the gates, not against him, but with him. Inside the department, something cracked. And somewhere in the city, Officer Daniel Price watched his own words turn into evidence. By evening, Marcus Hill's name was no longer his alone. It scrolled across news tickers, trended beside hashtags he hadn't chosen, and echoed from television sets in break rooms and living rooms across the city. The footage played on a loop, grainy, undeniable, merciless. You people always try the front. Each replay landed differently. Some heard it as confirmation, others as accusation, a few as inconvenience. Marcus stood in his office, jacket still on, phone vibrating every few seconds. Reporters, investors, old acquaintances who suddenly remembered his number. Linda shut the door behind her. We're getting requests for statements every 10 minutes. Hold them, Marcus said. You can't hold everyone. I can hold myself. She studied him. That's not what they'll want. Outside, the front lot filled with people. Drivers, warehouse staff, strangers with signs made from cardboard and urgency. Support felt heavier than opposition. Harder to carry, easier to drop. Angela Brooks arrived carrying a legal pad thick with notes. The department just released a second statement. Marcus looked up. Let me guess. Context. Context, Angela confirmed, and a reminder of Officer Price's years of service. Linda laughed once, sharp. They always start counting when it helps them. Angela's phone buzzed. Internal Affairs has opened a review. Opened, Marcus said. Not completed. Not yet. A knock interrupted them. The receptionist cracked the door. Mr. Hill, Channel 7 is downstairs. They say they won't leave. Marcus took a breath. Send them in. The reporter, a woman in her 30s with careful eyes, sat up quickly, camera rolling. Mic clipped. Mr. Hill, she began. Why release the footage now? Marcus folded his hands. Because silence wasn't protecting anyone. Some critics say you're exploiting the moment. Marcus didn't look away. I didn't choose the moment. It chose me. The reporter nodded. What do you want from the department? Accountability? Marcus said. And change. Is this about Officer Price alone? No, Marcus replied. It never is. The clip aired within the hour. Across town, the police union president held his own press conference. Words like isolated and misinterpreted floated through the air. Marcus watched it later, jaw tight. They're building a wall, Linda said. Angela nodded. And they're daring us to climb. That night, Marcus drove past the hub. Protesters lined the sidewalk now, candles flickering. Someone had projected the video onto the side of the building. He didn't stop. At home, his son sat at the kitchen table, headphones abandoned, eyes fixed on the screen. Dad, the boy said softly, is that you? Marcus swallowed. Yes. They said a bad word. Yes, Marcus said again. Why? Marcus pulled out a chair. Because some people see a job before they see a person. His son frowned. But you own it. Marcus managed to smile. That doesn't always matter. The boy considered this. That's stupid. Marcus laughed quietly. It is. Later, alone, Marcus scrolled through messages. Support. Hate. Threats thinly veiled as advice. You should have stayed quiet. Proud of you. This won't end well. His phone rang. Unknown number. This is Officer Daniel Price. The voice said. Marcus stiffened. You shouldn't be calling me. I just want to talk, Price said. Man to man. Marcus closed his eyes. You had your chance. They're throwing me under the bus, Price said. I followed procedure. You followed assumption, Marcus replied. Silence stretched. You don't know what it's like, Price said finally. Marcus's voice hardened. I know exactly what it's like. He ended the call. The next day, sponsors pulled out of a police charity event. City council members demanded briefings. A whistleblower hotline lit up. Angela met Marcus at the courthouse steps. We're getting emails. Other incidents. Same officer. Same language. Marcus exhaled slowly. Patterns. Patterns scare institutions, Angela said. They can't isolate those. Inside the department, morale fractured. Officers whispered. Some defended Price. Others distanced themselves. A young officer posted anonymously online. We were told to watch him. Marcus read it twice. By the end of the week, Officer Price was placed on administrative leave. The union called it premature. Protesters called it overdue. Marcus stood at his window that night, city lights blurring in the glass. He felt heavier than before, burdened not just by what happened, but by what was surfacing. Exposure didn't lift weight. It redistributed it. And the city was learning how much it had been carrying all along. The email arrived at 2:14 a.m. No subject line. No signature. Just a single sentence and an attachment. This isn't the first time. Marcus read it twice before opening the file. Inside were screenshots, complaint summaries, internal notes, redacted names stacked like tombstones, traffic stops, verbal warnings, unsubstantiated, officer's discretion, the same phrases repeating until they felt mechanical. Officer Daniel Price's badge number appeared again and again. Marcus sat at his kitchen table, the glow of his laptop painting the room pale. He didn't feel shock. He felt confirmation. By morning, Angela Brooks was already on it. This came from inside, she said, scanning the documents in Marcus's office. Someone who knows the system well enough to fear it. Can we verify? Linda asked. Angela nodded. I'm cross-checking timestamps with public records. If even half of this holds, the department exposure triples. Marcus leaned back. They knew. They always do, Angela said. They just rely on noise to drown it out. At noon, Angela's phone rang. She listened, eyes sharpening. That was our anonymous sender, she said after hanging up. He wants whistleblower protection. He, Marcus asked, veteran officer, 20 years in. He says Price was protected because he generated activity. Linda scoffed. Tickets over trust. Marcus stared out the window. What else did he say? Angela hesitated. That supervisors joked about Price being rough around the edges. That complaints were seen as paperwork problems, not people problems. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. So the system rewarded it. Yes. They scheduled a secure call that evening. The voice on the line was steady, but tired. I tried reporting him internally, the officer said. Twice. Both times. I was told to stop making trouble. What made you speak now? Marcus asked. Silence hummed. I watched the video, the officer said, and I heard myself not stepping in. Marcus closed his eyes. Within days, more messages arrived. A dispatcher, a former intern, a patrol officer who quit 3 years earlier. Stories aligned without coordination. Angela compiled them carefully, building a lattice of corroboration. This isn't about one man anymore, she said. It's about tolerance. The department responded predictably. A press release emphasized ongoing review, a reminder that due process must be respected. The union warned against trial by media. Marcus watched the briefing live. The police chief avoided his name. They're trying to outlast a story, Linda said. Marcus nodded. But stories evolve. The Oversight Board requested documents. City Council scheduled hearings. Sponsors quietly paused donations. Inside the department, lines hardened. One afternoon, Marcus received a handwritten note at the front desk. No envelope, just folded paper. Some of us see you. Some of us are scared. He held it longer than necessary. The retaliation shifted. Traffic stops slowed, replaced by audits. A fire code review appeared without explanation. A zoning consultant called with concerns. Angela tracked each one. They're recalibrating, she said. Pressure, without fingerprints. At home, Marcus slept lightly. Every sound felt amplified. He caught himself checking mirrors more often, calculating routes. Resilience had a cost. At a community forum, Marcus spoke without notes. This isn't about me being mistaken for a delivery driver, he said. It's about what happens when authority decides who belongs where. Applause rose, uneven but sincere. Afterward, a young black officer approached him. Sir, she said quietly, thank you. For what? Marcus asked. For making it harder for them to say we're imagining things. The night before the first hearing, Angela laid everything out across the conference table. Timelines, patterns, names carefully protected. They'll try to fracture this, she said. Discredit witnesses. Delay. Marcus nodded. And you? Angela smiled thinly. I'm very patient. Outside, protesters gathered again, signs shifting from Price's name to demand for reform. Inside the department, Officer Daniel Price sat home, badge surrendered, future uncertain. For the first time, he wasn't protected by his silence. Marcus watched the city lights flicker on as dusk settled. He felt the cracks widening, not just in blue uniforms, but in the story the city told itself. And once cracks showed, they were impossible to ignore. The courtroom smelled like old wood and recycled air, a place designed to make voices smaller. Marcus sat at the witness table, hands folded, jacket buttoned, posture steady. Across the room, Officer Daniel Price stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, uniform replaced by a plain suit that didn't soften him. The judge entered. Everyone rose. When they sat again, the room settled into a hush that felt earned. Angela Brooks stood. Mr. Hill, she said gently, can you describe what happened the night of the incident? Marcus inhaled. I arrived at my distribution hub shortly after 10 p.m. It was raining. I walked toward the front entrance. And then, an officer told me deliveries go around back. Murmurs rippled. Angela continued. How did you respond? I said I was heading inside. Did you identify yourself as the owner? Not at first. Why not? Marcus paused. Because I wanted to see how far the assumption would go. Price's attorney shifted in his seat. Angela nodded. What assumption? That I didn't belong there. She let the words sit. Price's attorney rose. Objection. Speculation. The judge raised a hand. Overruled. The witness may speak to his experience. Angela pressed on. What language did the officer use? Marcus swallowed. He said, You people always try the front. A quiet intake of breath swept the room. And how did that make you feel? Angela asked. Marcus looked at the jury. Like I was 14 again. Standing in a store, being watched. Like everything I'd built could vanish if I moved wrong. Price's attorney stood. Mr. Hill, is it true you could have avoided this by immediately identifying yourself? Yes, Marcus said calmly. So why didn't you? Because no one else was asked to prove they belonged. Silence followed. The defense shifted strategy. Mr. Hill, the attorney said, You're a successful businessman. Isn't it possible you're interpreting a routine interaction through a personal lens? Marcus met his gaze. Is it routine to put your hand near your weapon when someone asks to go inside their own building? A juror's pen stilled. Is it routine, Marcus continued, to write a report that omits words captured on video? Objection rose and fell. The judge allowed it. When Officer Price took the stand, his voice was controlled. I followed procedure, Price said. I assessed the situation. Angela approached. Based on what? Behavior. What behavior? Arguing. Angela tilted her head. Is disagreement a threat? Price hesitated. It can be. Angela played the footage. The courtroom heard the words again. You people always try the front. Angela stopped the video. Is that procedure? Price's face reddened. It was a poor choice of words. A pattern of words, Angela said, holding up a document. Complaints, similar phrasing. Objection, sidebar. The judge allowed limited inclusion. Price's voice wavered for the first time. I was doing my job. And what is your job? Angela asked softly. To keep order. Angela nodded. Order for whom? The question hung unanswered. Outside, protesters waited, chants muffled by stone. Inside, testimony unfolded. A dispatcher spoke. A former patrol partner confirmed warnings ignored. A supervisor described balancing risk. Marcus listened, each account layering weight onto the night he thought was singular. When closing arguments came, Angela didn't raise her voice. This isn't about villainy, she said. It's about permission. Permission granted by silence. The defense spoke of stress, of split-second decisions. The jury filed out. Hours passed. Marcus sat alone on the bench now, hands finally unclasped. His leg bounced despite himself. Linda joined him. No matter what happens, she said, you changed the record. He nodded. The jury returned. They found the department liable for civil rights violations. Officer Price was found to have acted outside policy. The room exhaled. Price stared at the table. Marcus closed his eyes. Outside, cheers rose, but inside, the silence returned, heavier now with consequence. As people filed out, Marcus remained seated. Justice, he realized, didn't sound like applause. It sounded like a room finally admitting what it had heard all along. The announcement came on a Friday afternoon, buried beneath weather updates and weekend traffic warnings. Officer Daniel Price was terminated. No ceremony, no apology, just a memo citing policy violations and conduct unbecoming. The union protested. The department emphasized procedure. The city framed it as closure. Marcus read the notice on his phone while standing in the loading bay. The smell of diesel thick in the air. Forklifts rolled past, life continuing with practiced indifference. It's done, Linda said beside him. Marcus nodded. It's begun. By Monday, the pension board convened. Price's retirement benefits were frozen pending review. His attorney called it excessive. Commentators argued semantics. Accountability became a debate instead of an action. Angela Brooks laid out the next steps. Civil settlement, oversight agreement, mandatory reforms. Body cams. Marcus asked. Expanded, Angela said. Training revisions. Independent review. Linda crossed her arms. Names. Angela hesitated. Some. The police chief resigned 2 days later. He cited family reasons. Marcus watched the press conference in silence. The chief thanked his colleagues, avoided the word racism, and left through a side door. Outside, protesters cheered anyway. That night, Marcus sat alone in his office, the building quieter than it had been in weeks. He opened an email from the city attorney. Settlement reached. The number was large, enough to fund scholarships, enough to rebuild, enough to tempt forgetting. Angela called moments later. We can earmark funds, she said. Community oversight. Legal aid. Yes, Marcus replied. All of it. And you? Angela asked. What do you want? Marcus looked at the reflection in the glass. At the man he'd learned to become. I want my people safe, he said. The settlement became public. Headlines shifted tone. Victory language crept in. Marcus felt none of it. Employees congratulated him quietly. Some hugged him. Others kept distance, unsure how close to stand to someone marked by attention. Eli Turner resigned the following week. He left a note on Marcus's desk. I did what I could. Thank you for making it matter. Marcus folded it carefully. Officer Price sold his house. He moved out of the city. His name faded from broadcasts, replaced by new crises. But the consequences followed him. Private security firms declined interviews. Training roles evaporated. Silence returned, this time without protection. At a council meeting, reforms passed unanimously. Cameras flashed. Speeches were made. Marcus testified once more, briefly. "This doesn't end here," he said. "It just stops being invisible." Applause filled the chamber. Outside, rain began again, light and persistent. Later, Marcus drove home alone. No cruisers followed. No lights flashed. At a red light, he stopped fully, exaggerated, aware of the habit forming. At home, his son waited up. "Did you win?" the boy asked. Marcus considered the question. "I changed something," he said. His son nodded, satisfied. That night, Marcus lay awake longer than usual. He replayed the first words spoken to him at the door. "Delivery goes around back." They no longer burned. They scarred. In the weeks that followed, inspection slowed. Stops ceased. The pressure eased, though it never vanished entirely. Resilience, Marcus learned, was a relief. It was endurance with memory. On a quiet morning, he returned to the distribution hub before dawn. The asphalt was dry. The door slid open without pause. Inside, work began again. Marcus stepped forward, unchallenged, and for the first time since the rain, he didn't brace himself. The city moved on faster than Marcus expected. A new scandal surfaced. A new headline replaced his name. The footage stopped looping. Algorithms lost interest. Silence returned, not the heavy enforced kind, but the casual forgetting that passed for healing. Marcus noticed it first in small ways. The reporter who once called daily now sent holiday greetings. The council member who promised follow-ups delegated them. The protest signs disappeared, replaced by construction notices and parking warnings. Hill logistics kept working. That part mattered. Marcus walked the floor more often now, unannounced. He listened instead of speaking. Drivers told him about nights that still tightened their shoulders. Dispatchers admitted they flinched when radios crackled. One supervisor confessed she still kept her hands visible whenever authority entered a room. Marcus didn't correct them. He understood. At a quarterly meeting, an employee raised a hand. "Is it over?" the man asked carefully. Marcus paused. "The case is—" "That's not what I meant." Marcus nodded. "Then no." The Oversight Board launched with fanfare. Its first months were promising. Audits published, recommendations issued. Resistance came quietly. Budget delays. Jurisdiction debates. Familiar patterns dressed in new language. Marcus funded what the city stalled. Legal clinics. Training partnerships. Independent data collection. Some accused him of overreach. He didn't argue. At home, life recalibrated. His son asked fewer questions but watched more closely. Marcus caught him mimicking posture, tone restraint. It frightened him more than the threats ever had. One evening, Marcus corrected him gently. "You don't have a shrink." The boy looked up. "I know. I just don't want trouble." Marcus knelt. "Neither did I." They sat together in the quiet. Months later, Marcus received an invitation to speak at a national logistics conference. The introduction praised innovation, growth, leadership. When Marcus reached the podium, he adjusted the mic. "I was once mistaken for a delivery driver," he said. Laughter rippled, uncertain. "And I am one," Marcus continued. "Every day, I deliver systems that move people's lives." The room stilled. "But what happened to me wasn't a misunderstanding," he said. "It was a reminder. Power doesn't announce itself. It assumes." Applause came slower, deeper. Afterward, a young woman approached him. "My father's a cop," she said. "I didn't see it before." Marcus nodded. Seeing is a beginning. Late that night, Marcus returned to the hub. No cameras followed. No crowds gathered. He stood at the same front entrance where rain once fell hard enough to blur intention. The glass reflected him clearly now. A security guard nodded as Marcus passed. No hesitation. No apology. Just recognition. Inside, the building breathed. Machines humming, schedules ticking forward. Marcus placed a hand on the cool metal of a railing and let himself feel the ache beneath the endurance. The nights that changed him. The trust he'd lost. The trust he'd gained. Justice hadn't given him peace. It had given him responsibility. His phone buzzed. A message from Eli Turner, sent from a new job in another city. Still standing. Hope you are too. Marcus smiled faintly and typed back. Always. As he walked deeper into the building, Marcus understood something he hadn't before. What remained wasn't victory. It was vigilance. And for the first time, he knew he wasn't carrying it alone. The new sign went up quietly. No press, no ribbon, just a clean line of metal letters mounted beside the glass. All entrances are for everyone. Marcus watched from across the lot as the installers finished. Morning light slid across the pavement, soft and ordinary. Trucks arrived on schedule. Drivers waved. Work continued. That mattered most. He didn't give a speech. He didn't post it online. The sign wasn't for attention. It was for memory. Inside, a young supervisor stopped him near the lockers. "Sir Marcus," she corrected herself, smiling nervously. "I wanted to say things feel different." Marcus nodded. "Different how?" "People speak up sooner," she said, "even when it's uncomfortable." Marcus felt a small, careful pride. Good. Later, at his desk, he reviewed a proposal from the oversight board. Progress. Slow but real. He signed where it mattered and sent it back without ceremony. That afternoon, a patrol car rolled past the gate. It didn't slow. Marcus noticed anyway. At home that evening, his son practiced a presentation for school. Clear voice, shoulders back. Marcus listened from the doorway, resisting the urge to correct, to protect. When the boy finished, he looked up. "Was that okay?" Marcus smiled. It was strong. The boy grinned, relief easy and unguarded. Marcus held on to that look longer than he should have. Weeks later, Marcus received a letter, handwritten, careful. It was from the young black officer he'd met at the forum. "I stayed," she wrote. "It's harder now, but it's also clearer." Marcus folded the letter and placed it with the others he kept. Not trophies, markers. On a rainy night, lighter than before, almost gentle, Marcus returned once more to the front entrance. Habit lingered. Memory, too. He walked straight through the doors. No one stopped him. Inside, the building hummed with purpose, indifferent to fear, loyal only to motion. Marcus took a breath and let out slowly. The world hadn't changed because of one video, one trial, one fall. But something had shifted. The next person who walked up to that door, delivery driver, owner, visitor, worker, would enter knowing the assumption wasn't theirs to carry alone. Marcus turned off the lights and stepped into the night. The rain fell. The door stayed open.